In the Hearts and Minds, Book 0, The Birth of a Hero. Story 7, continued. Can I come too? Pat, pat. The hand did not hesitate one bit at that hard voice. Why so cold? The stranger asked. We've talked about this. The angry human let out a long, long breath that puffed up at the end. His hair didn't stand up. Well, not more than his usual fan of ruffles, but Ruka thought this was how such an ugly creature showed his displeasure. And how could Ruka blame him? His teeth weren't sharp, nor did he have a tail to fluff out each warning. Yes, he sighed. We've talked about this. Talked it to death, if I'm remembering right. Well, then let's talk it back to life. The stranger splayed his hands wide, finally ceasing his thunderous assault on Ruka's spine. And now he was able to grab his plate and scurry to the other end of the counter, all the way across the angry human's papers to the other side of the watering hole. Ruka held his arms out. The angry human took the plate from his hand, the open can with the other, and set them on the counter, before grabbing Ruka around his fluffy stomach and pulling him into his arms. Ruka circled his paws around the angry human's neck, staring at the stranger. Though the angry human's breath huffed through his nose like a giant hound, his hands were still gentle as they held Ruka against his chest. The stranger grabbed a wet cloth from the watering hole, wringing it out, eyes never once leaving Ruka, or the angry human. The stranger's fancy shoes reverberated at each step. Ruka felt they didn't match this apartment, with the mattress on the floor and the cups of green stalks sitting everywhere. They definitely didn't match the old, creaky windows or the worn-away bricks beneath them. The whole floor was littered with chips that had been broken away and scattered by Ruka's feet and the angry human's socks. Ruka's nails dug in a little deeper on the angry human's neck as that stranger wiped at his mouth with a wet rag, face expressionless. Hey, Badger, he addressed. Show me your hands. Ruka absolutely would not, but the angry human sighed, working at his paws and unlatching them one by one. The cloth was as awkward as the stranger's pats, and Ruka could only close his eyes and hope his paws didn't get broken off under such rough treatment. When he was done, Ruka hid his face in the angry human's neck, where he watched the stranger wipe off tuna pieces that had smudged the skin where Ruka had grabbed. The wet cloth moved slowly up and down the angry human's skin. Ruka was offended at how obvious the stranger made it. He hadn't been nearly as gentle with him. What had Ruka ever done to him? How dare he come into his angry human's apartment and treat him like this? Is it because I'm too old? The angry human didn't even hesitate. It's because you're too evil. The rag disappeared from Ruka's sight. More clacking of those heavy shoes resounded as Ruka peeked out from under the angry human's chin. You'll get used to that. The stranger was back to using the laughing voice, the one that made the creases edging his mouth and fanning his eyes more obvious, though his lips hardly moved. If that's all, then you can move in with me today. Grab your badger and a change of clothes. I'll get the rest delivered tomorrow. Oh, the angry human scoffed. Aren't you going to blackmail me? The stranger crowded closer. Something about this human made Ruka want to hold on even tighter to his human. What would happen if he let go? Ruka had left his marks all along the outside of the apartment, but had been stopped from adding them to the hallway outside the angry human's door. Ruka had thought his human was big and strong and tall and formidable. He hadn't thought a threat would appear from the inside, but Ruka could feel it. This stranger was a far worse threat than all the gutter rats down below. Do I really have to do that? The stranger asked, the light in his eyes rippling a shiver down Ruka's fur. If you're worried about whether I can keep up with you, don't worry. I'll just get surgery when I start to look like an old man. You can keep fucking me as you please. The angry human was back to fuming. Don't do that. The stranger's boots herded Ruka and the angry human up against the counter. He smelled strongly of something that tickled, like the clouds of perfume that followed the important humans as they stalked down sidewalks. It smelled like something Ruka shouldn't touch, something he could never afford to ruin with his tuna-stained claws. "Don't do what?" "Don't change yourself," the angry human snapped. "There's nothing wrong with how you're aging. There's nothing wrong with aging." The stranger raised a brow. "I didn't realize silver foxes were your thing, and here I thought I was special." "You are special," the angry human sighed, pushing lightly against the stranger's chest and squeezing by him. "I don't have a type. Just listen. I can't support all the things you do. I can't ignore it just because we have..." The stranger followed, and Ruka got a face filled with that expensive smell. He tried not to breathe in too deeply, as his tail was flattened to the angry human's side. The stranger had wrapped them both into a hug, tight enough to pull against Ruka's hairs. "Come on." He smacked his lips against the angry human's neck, and Ruka startled. Was he trying to establish dominance? Is that why he'd wiped that spot away? To clean the area first? Ruka's human was not some disease-ridden possum. The nerve. "Live with me. We'll do the normal couple things. You don't have to support me. We don't ever have to mention it." The angry human drooped back into the stranger. Ruka almost slipped to the floor, but he was quick and latched on. One of his hands grabbed at the stranger's coat. The stranger didn't flinch as Ruka's paws grabbed his expensive, stuffy coat. Ruka blinked, then blinked again. "Willful ignorance is just as bad as standing by your side at rallies," the drooping human murmured, but the stranger ignored him. Smacking his lips on the drooping human's cheek this time, the stranger gave a triumphant grin, and Ruka knew that he and his human had lost. "Great! Let's leave now, and we can still catch dinner. Do badgers eat meat pies?" Ruka did not know what kind of animal this badger was, but he wondered if it was perhaps a more majestic breed of cat. Perhaps that was what Ruka had been all along, and he hadn't known it. Reaching out, Ruka patted the spot where the stranger had placed his lips against his human's, who flinched, staring at Ruka with wide, wide eyes. In that moment, Ruka felt he understood. He wouldn't be abandoned. Not by this one. Ruka patted the stranger's coat next, urging him onward, towards the meat pies. He licked his lips in anticipation. He could always save the rest of his tuna for later. The drooping human sighed, deflating even more than before. "Fine," he muttered. But by the time he'd said it, he and Ruka were already halfway down the building's steps and trailing behind the stranger, who was now humming. "As if I even had a choice," he muttered, but Ruka didn't know who he was speaking to. Ruka only hoped the meat pies tasted as good as tuna from the yellow-striped can.